Greetings, my name is Mars. I am host of the Watcher's Prophecy News, only on www.kdov.us, America's best Christian radio station. You can find us here every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Also on KDOV, we have many good hosts and other shows for you to tune into, and I'm glad that you're with me tonight on the WPN. Now tonight, I would ask for a prayer for our nation, and a prayer for our leaders. See, things are not as good as they really seem. We are at a point past no return where your gold and silver won't really help you as much as a can of green beans. We are the Watcher Society. Tonight, I do have epic information for your mind. Now, I explained in show 13, a previous show, a story that we're still deeply watching about strong cities and how strong cities would deploy in 25 major cities, and the U.S. Army's internment program have now been synchronized. Our troops will escort the UN for viability and trust, but verify that the UN is only doing its job when it deploys some 10,000 troops to these various cities, strong cities networks. This was under the Obama's executive order to obey the small arms treaty that he signed after signing the treaty. His full deployment was to start 17th of this month in full scale, Chicago being the first test city. Wonder why they picked Chicago. Well, that's right. Trump is going to change all that. See, the UN's problem in getting things like the Small Arms Treaty and many others enforced is that they get the major part of their funding from the USA, yet they are not allowed to operate in our borders. This now, with the signature of Obama, it has changed the CIA and given Obama a briefing that included for sure the public anger that would arise among many patriots, many conservatives, many Trump supporters, and groups who would not be so happy to see the blue helmets patrolling our very streets. Now, these new orders, deliberately now in place, Obama signing them in his last moments, have about 690 UN troops arriving from Obama's signature from many member nations of the UN on private jets from UN staging areas, points in Paris, France. This force so far, I estimate, has been processed. Some 690 of them have been housed at Kelly Air Force Base. And see, you thought all those pictures folks have been showing you of the UN vehicles running around Chicago area were not true. They are. Well, I have more news. This will be a shocker. Donald Trump has now announced he will not allow strong cities to deploy on time. At least that's a partial good news statement. He says we're going to send them back to the UN where they belong. We have this now out of his own mouth, and maybe some other measures will be taken in cities with crime rates beyond the margins, like the real turn of common sense. And everyone should be alarmed in Chicago at the murder rate right now. But everyone, too, should be allowed in Chicago to carry a gun. Now, I tell you, the liberals would definitely throw a fit, but crime would fall to near zero, and like everywhere else this practice has been done, including 21 other U.S. strong cities, strong only because the citizens keep their guns handy. Some cities, it's even mandatory that you have a gun on you or you can go to jail. Chicago and many other cities would become safe when citizens finally told the criminals there is no gun-free zones, and that if you come here to rob, steal, or sell drugs like an OG pimp, you're going to get shot. These New World disarmament zombies must be drinking their own Kool-Aid. They represent a society infected with the morals of a swine. See, for many it seems the world has become a rotten apple, The fruits thereof daily we see are nothing but bad items in the news. And I'm sick. I'm sick and tired of all the bad news. Folks, there has got to be good news out there, and there is. It's the good news of Jesus Christ, and his message is do not fear, because all these things in prophecy must be fulfilled, and we who have believed upon his name for salvation will reign with him forever and forever ever, without the establishment of such wicked tyranny, and it will all soon be washed away. Trump replaces just two picks on the Supreme Court. Judge Napolitano, by the way, we've got some news on that later, is being considered for a Supreme Court seat. And even more right-leaning court, we will see many larger cities change. Many larger cities like Chicago may have their gun bans overturned and open carry a reality before Trump leaves office. Our world is in bad place. But I want you to repeat after me. I am blessed in a cursed place. Come on, everyone. I am blessed in a cursed place. Thank you, Jesus, for only you rule the world. Now, I've got all kinds of interesting stuff tonight. You can bank on that. Let's run over this Andrew Napolitano story real quick. He was spotted now for a second time at Trump Tower Tuesday morning. It's leading to massive speculation that President-elect Donald Trump may be considering the judge for a real position on the U.S. Supreme Court. Imagine how that will change everything all by itself. Napolitano, a former New Jersey Superior Court judge and Fox News senior judicial analyst, he is currently the favorite commentator in conservative and libertarian circles. After he emerged from an elevator at Trump Tower Tuesday, several blogs, including one published by former Representative Allen West, began speculating about Napolitano's meeting with Donald Trump. Very little inside information is coming out, but I'm going to keep you hopping with everything I have. Trump may be seeking advice from the libertarian analysis that Napolitano can give, and maybe, just maybe, he might be considering the Fox News analyst for the Supreme Court position, wrote JP Media's Tyler O'Neill. While Napolitano is not one of the 21 names on Trump's SCOTUS list, anything is possible, and I think he's just rewrote that very list. Now, Pat Palumbo at Allen West's blog added, if he is not in consideration for what will be the most contested appointment that Trump certainly makes, he's undeniably going to be very influential in picking who that person is. After the meeting, Napolitano told Fox Business News' Stuart Varney the president-elect is focusing on his choices for the Supreme Court of the United States. Now that Napolitano has said that personally, we know directly what the meeting is about. He didn't pull any punches. He didn't hide anything. He was there to talk about the Supreme Court nomination. Napolitano continued, we discussed the judicial attitudes of each judge, judicial temperament, judicial ideology, and candidates for the court, including myself. You get that? Stuff's fixing to be deep real soon. Now, me, a judge from New Jersey, would not be my first pick, but this man leans so right, it's not even funny, and I would pick him any day of the week. Big fan of Judge Napolitano, and in his columns published on WMD and in many various public statements, the judge has been very outspoken on the issue of Hillary Clinton's unsecured private email server, even suggesting the Department of Justice may reopen the email case against former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Now, Trump is a smart cookie, and he knows that since he cannot directly go after the Clintons and their crooked foundation, that he will have to appoint one of the strongest critics who has already vowed to do all he can to uncover Miss Clinton's wrongdoings and have her prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Nominating Judge Napolitano would put him in the position of power to be able to do this for Trump with very little guff, and as Hillary told Poncetta in her famous email, if Trump wins, we'll all hang. Well, we have more on Antarctica story, and I'm sure there's a lot of watchers that are watching that. But I wanted to touch on what we do know so far and what developments new there have been to this situation. And remember also that we're watching this in connection with the Great Deception. Now, if you may remember, just a few days after the shocking U.S. presidential election, Secretary of State John Kerry became the highest-ranking U.S. government official to ever set foot on Antarctica. Though there are some rumors that still persist that President Obama made a secret visit there earlier this year. But we don't know that for sure. That wasn't linked out anywhere. This visit came just a few weeks after WikiLeaks released a large set of photos from Antarctica. Does that mean there was a worldwide cover-up on UFOs in Antarctica? Well, I'm telling you that could be the case. So let's look at some of the people connected and connect all these dots to see if we can reach that theory. The Secretary of State landed in Antarctica November 11th, if everyone remembers that. This was leg 2 of a multi-stop trip that started New Zealand and included a stop at the International Climate Change meetings in Morocco, where Kerry was to speak on the changes of global warming. Al Gore apparently didn't show up. The 5-hour flight to Antarctica and the C-17 Globemaster military cargo plane had Kerry mysteriously spending most of his time in the cockpit. Now, most of you that know Kerry know that he is also a pilot, but he's not piloting the plane. There are windows, of course, for him to look out of. We know for a fact he was giving the pilots secret directions for a flyover a particular area before they landed at McMurdo Station. Now, Kerry got to see these things that are banned from the public view due to the newly signed October 18th, 2016 agreement to make the Ross Sea and all surrounding area within 350 miles the world's largest marine protected area, blocking ships without any permission from entering the sea or just the general area for 35 years. Fortunately, WikiLeaks mysteriously released a set of 23 photographs, various locations in Antarctica, on October 18th as part of its John Poncetta related email links. Now, they seem to show, and I'm trying to be very specific, more than expository evidence of UFOs and a very mysterious fog, and a couple are even suspected to be from somewhere other than Antarctica. We believe that this mail is not completely accurate. These photos were numbered and a couple of numbers appear to be missing as well. Leads me to a conclusion this has all been tampered with very much, and could have shown the long-rumored evidence purportedly in WikiLeaks' possession right now, according to what he keeps saying, of a secret war, that's right, a secret war, going on between the U.S. and UFO-based aliens. It's amazing how they put this stuff, UFO-based aliens. I'm telling you, these are demons on the floor of the waters in and around Antarctica. Very same waters now protected by this new agreement. In fact, the area is banned from all human traffic by boat, shore, or air for the next 35 years because of whatever it is that they indeed found there. What was it? Well, I'm about to tell you in just a minute. Well, you have to understand, Kerry visiting this top secret location in Antarctica, Hillary, the very same week, talks to Poncetta about full disclosure as part of her campaign to become known as the Disclosure President, and the first woman to hold the office, and believing, as she did at the time, probably in a drunken stupor, that her asking John Poncetta if we should release everything we know about these so-called aliens. Now, on our last show, that's about as far as the conclusions we were able to come to at the time. But Hillary, that same week, when she talked to Pancetta about this full disclosure deal, as part of her campaign to become known as the disclosure president, the FBI investigations that were currently going on in her case, Pancetta told her that she really didn't want any more crap, and Pancetta told her that telling them would not be a good idea, else more heat, very heavy heat, would be on her, quote unquote. Well, this story's really intrigued me, and I've been digging deep into this mystery, and what I found is alarming. I've talked to U.S. General Franks and discovered that currently 4 teams of engineers and a team of oil well drillers, that's right, are headed to the Antarctic this very week. Seems the engineering teams are with a very familiar name of in company. They're either working for them or with them. Place that you've heard the name of many times, Lockheed Skunk Works. That's right. Now, the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works of today is focused on the critical aircraft for tomorrow. That's what they say on their own website. Advanced technology solutions for manned and unmanned systems draw on our world-class capabilities in conceptual design, system engineering and integration, complex project management, software development, and rapid prototyping. These core capabilities, they probably ought to add in there reverse engineering. These core capacities tie to the foundation of Skunk Works, where founder Kelly Johnson's mantra, quick, quiet, and quality, guides each and every project from concept to flight. Took that right off their own website. It also says, if we look in the future, we see a global landscape that is rapidly evolving. By focusing on our core capabilities, wonder what those core capabilities actually are, we will continue innovating and providing our customers with cutting-edge technology. Did you hear that? Cutting-edge technology. Will provide our customers with this cutting-edge technology in the following areas: air dominance, advanced manufacturing, high speed, and air mobility. We know what Martin Skunk Works does. We know what they do. So why would a company of engineers in this well-known spook place be on the way to Antarctica with a drilling team? That's right, a drilling team. Even their front page says what they do, and I've shared some of that with you. They are definitely concerned with aviation, so whatever's there deals with something that flies. Else, why would Skunk Works be there? Skunk Works of today is focused on the critical aircraft for tomorrow. That's what their website says. That's job number 1 there. And first thing on their list on their website, we're going to talk about conspiracies. That's a big one. Advanced technology solutions for manned and unmanned systems draw upon our world-class capabilities in conceptual design, system engineering and integration, complex project management, software development, rapid prototyping. I'm telling you, there is something down there that they are trying to rapid prototype. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but we know it's down there. You see, to understand that they have indeed found something there. Now, I talked to General Franks at great length about this, and General Franks tells me, you know what, Mars? I think it is indeed a giant UFO. You can bet I will continue to have more on this story soon. Guarantee it. Following this very closely as it deals with the Great Deception. See, these fundraisers, these hoaxers, they think they can get over on you with the Trump-rich market, as old Hank could not predict that the stock market's up and the interest is down, and you only get mugged if you go into Chi-Town. See, the webbots were right about the human psyche. It's breached a new limit. In our minds, our mind's eye, thus so interconnected to the sphere of global networking and the demonic subhumans of the dark side that did not prevail versus the gates of heaven and did not understand the light. Most could have seen it all, just in how really lost, I'm referring to Hillary, of course, how she lost the election. As in even the most simple case of Perry Mason, that once a specter of doubt, that tender spark of unholy combinations occurred, that someone, anyone, could see it. She was definitely wearing the cape, specter of doubt. From she was ill to that she was stealing and had many other treasonous, lying, druggy, drinky, dirtbag, conspiracy, murdering things going on. She hired a vice presidential nominee called Kane, one also with stigma of murder and guilty divergence deeply into her cancerous and colorful sins. Both being similar nature, and the public simply did not trust her. You've got a Clinton and a Kane. What does that remind you of? Very bottom line. The one trusted was someone who knew how to grow and prosper and use the system to do things others could not do because they were tired of the liberal demonic agenda. Donald Trump is now president. Everything that's going on at the inauguration, we're not going to get to that today. We're going to save that for next show. Some of the things that are happening behind the scenes. But I do have some story out of Iraq and some things that are going on in the Middle East that you should be very well aware of. And so we're going to knock this out real quick. Most people, when we get to the Middle East, they go, well, oh no, Mars, how's that affecting me? How's that affecting my life? And generally, for the most part, it doesn't. Keeps your minds informed about world events, but a lot of people complain and they say, well, this is dry, it's old, it's stiff. We don't really need to know about that, Mars, because it's not affecting anything. I'm telling you, it is affecting many things, and it is shaping our current world for decisions that are about to be made by Donald Trump. Last month, the Islamic State recaptured Palmyra from where it was evicted by the Syrian army only in March. This week, the Islamic State has launched a fierce assault in the eastern city of Deir ez-Zor, near Syria's border with Iraq, and successfully managed to surround the military airport, thus cutting off food and supplies to the besieged city. Now, although the Syrian experts of the mainstream media are claiming that the Islamic State jihadists from the Anbar province of Iraq have crossed over from the border to reinforce the militants in Palmyra and Deir ez-Zor, but we should keep in mind that Ramadi was liberated in December 2015 and Fallujah in June of last year. Why did it take the Islamic State jihadists several months to recapture Palmyra and mount an assault in Deir ez-Zor when the aforementioned crises in eastern Syria are located only a few hours' drive from Anbar in Iraq and across highly porous borders? See, what's going on right now is that these troops are very busy. They're very busy being pinned down, very busy being bombed. And soon, Trump and Putin are going to be bombing with both Jordan and, believe it or not, Iraq. All these bad guys at the same time. Should be a relative cluster mess you have never seen. Now, currently, the Russian Defense Ministry, by contrast, has given the explanation that thousands of Islamic State jihadists have crossed over into eastern provinces of Syria from Mosul and Iraq, and several analysts have blamed the United States for not doing enough to prevent the reinforcements reaching the eastern Syria from Iraq, because the preference of the United States seems to be to drive out the jihadists from Iraq, but letting them have a hard time to enter and or re-enter Iraq and go over to Syria and bust up some government troops in Syria. seems to be the deal. If we can drive them out of Iraq, they can go to Syria and cause more havoc there, which may promote the U.S. position in getting the quote-unquote American sector that we all know the United States and the Murdochs and Cheneys are so desperate to get their hands on. You see, the point I'm making here is that the United States has never really been against ISIS, having created them in the first place under Hillary Clinton. But I can tell you they've been used as a political tool. The United States doesn't want the complete destruction of ISIS as long as ISIS can be used to cross the border into Syria and create havoc for Assad's army. Anything they can do to undermine the Russians. The Syrian civil war is actually a three-way conflict. It's between the Sunni and Arab militants, the Shia Arab regime, and the Syrian Kurds. And the net beneficiaries of this conflict have only been the Syrian Kurds, who have expanded their area of control by cleverly aligning themselves first with the Syrian regime against the Sunni Arab militants since the beginning of the Syrian civil war in August 2011, and all the way to August 2014 when the U.S. declared a war against one faction of the Sunni Arab militants, i.e. the Islamic State. After they later overran Mosul in June 2014, and then the Syrian Kurds aligned themselves with the U.S. against the Islamic State, further buttressing their positions against the Sunni Arab militants as well as the Syrian regime. The United States have paid these people millions of dollars to go in and just camp out in the American Golan sector. That's what John Kerry calls it. He wants it so bad he's already named it the American sector of Syria. I tell you what, only God will doll out that land. And I am certain that Assad will be punished according to God's own plan. Anyone who tries to understand Syria always falls into the quagmire of, man, there's too much going on there. Don't really understand it, don't want to hear about it, it's not affecting me. You know, the regime change objective of getting Assad out of power will affect you. I'm going to try to explain that a little bit, but those hapless countries that have went against the mainstream narrative of ostensibly fighting the war against terror, therefore the Western political establishments in the mainstream media are now trying to muddle the reality by offering color-coded schemes to identify the Madrid of militants and terror outfits because there's simply not enough names. That's right, the U.S. military has dumbed them down to colors now. We're just colors on a map, such as the red militants of the Islamic State, which the Western powers want to eliminate under Trump now, the yellow Islamic jihadists like Jaish al-Islam and Ashar al-Shalam, with whom the Western powers can collaborate under desperate circumstances, and the green militants of the Free Syrian Army, and a few other inconsequential outfits like Islamic Jihad, which together comprise the so-called moderate Free Syrian opposition. Those are all being used are in the money pocket of only one country, United States of America. Under Trump, we believe this is going to change. You see, when we draw these parallels between the Soviet Afghan-led jihad in the 80s when the Soviets were there in Afghanistan and the Syrian civil war of today, the Western powers used the training camps located in the Afghan-Pakistan border regions to train and arm the Afghan Mujahideen against the Soviet troops in Afghanistan with the help of Pakistan's military intelligence. And now the United States is just replaying the same cards over and over again. See, the training camps that are located in the border regions of Turkey and Jordan are now being used to provide this U.S. money, training and arms to the Syrian militants to battle the Syrian regime with the support of Turkish, Jordanian, Saudi intelligence agencies. Now, under Trump, all this may change because he is buddy-buddy with Russia. Russia doesn't like any of this one little bit. All of this is the middle game for who gets the so-called Golan, the American sector, as John Kerry, as I said, called it, and the one with the Nest 3 oil find. This is all about Bible prophecy, who's going to get that narrow strip of land in Syria. Now it's about to be a much larger war. It's coming. Israel will be involved this time. It's over this, and NATO is going to be dragged into this fighting, I do believe. They're going to be dragged into fighting ISIS under Trump, and not so much Russia. Now that Trump has deals, he can forge quickly with Putin. Now, I still have a lot of epic information for your mind tonight, so we're going to creep on out of Syria and get into this. There's many other things going around the world that you might need to know that can or could affect you. April of 1815, most powerful volcanic blast in recorded history of mankind. I want you to think about that. Powerful volcanic blast ever recorded in mankind, by mankind, shook the planet in a catastrophe so vast that 200 years later, investigators are still struggling to grasp its overall repercussions. It's played a role, they now understand, in icy weather, agricultural collapse, global pandemics, even gave rise to celebrated monsters, letting you know even pole shift occurred at this time. That's how mighty this volcanic blast was. Shifted the Earth's magnetic pole about 3 degrees. Round the lush isles of the Dutch East Indies, modern-day Indonesia, the eruption of Mount Tambora killed tens of thousands of people. They were literally buried alive or killed by flying rocks, or they later died of starvation because the heavy ash had smothered all crops, and the ability to breathe even became such a substantial effort that many died just over that. More surprising, investigators have found that the giant cloud of minuscule particles spread around the globe from Mount Tambora blocked sunlight and produced 3 years of planetary cooling. In June 1816, a blizzard pummeled upstate New York. That July and August, killer frost in New England ravaged farms on a scale that is still talked about today. Hailstones pounded London all summer long that year. A recent history of disaster, Tambora, the eruption that changed the world, by Gillian Arkwood, shows planetary effects so extreme that many nations and communities sustained waves of famine, disease, and civil strife because it was indeed a year without a summer. This volcano was something out of a nightmare. Can't even describe how big the shaking of the earth was. The Bible talks about the shaking of the earth yet to come that will be greater than anything mankind has ever experienced before. But in the year 1816, it was known as a year without a summer. Gave birth to not only paintings of fiery sunsets and tempestuous skies, but 2 generations of complete Gothic fiction. Freakish things like Frankenstein and the Human Vampire, which have loomed large in art and literature ever since, were literally born out of this paper trail, said Dr. Wood. A University of Illinois professor of English goes back again and again to the eruption of Mount Tambora. The gargantuan blast, the reason I'm even telling you about this at all is because it may soon affect you, was 100 times bigger than Mount St. Helens, to give you an example of how big this blast was. And its ensuing worldwide terror that followed afterwards, this huge dust cloud that traveled around the globe many times, been subject to the increasing study over the years as scientists have sought to comprehend not only the planet's climatological past, but the future likelihood of such a global disaster reoccurring. Well, I've got news. There is is a gentleman named Clive Oppenheimer, a volcanologist at the University of Cambridge. He studied the Tambora catastrophe and all of the recent seismic activity to this date, in fact. And he's put the similar chance of explosion in the next half century, the next 50 years, our children's generation, as relatively low, perhaps only 10%. But in the last 2 months, everything has changed. All the readings have changed, he said. All of the lava flows have changed. All of the subterranean ground shaking all over the earth have changed. Put a new light on this monster volcano. It is indeed roaring back to life. The consequences, he added, could run extraordinarily high. So, me being very curious, I called Dr. Robert Mangrum, who is an MIT researcher who's been highly vocal about this in magazines such as Scientific Journal. And he has alarmed me with some of the very disturbing trends and news that I have just found out about the ground core, the recent series of huge earthquakes that have become more and more frequent. In fact, USGS says that the frequency of these large earthquakes have not been seen in over 1,000 years on Earth. We are entering a very different time. Lava flow studies that are now confirming this thing is back to life, back to rumbling, Mount Tambora, and soon as the tremors reach a crescendo, we can expect this to be a worldwide affecting disaster. So here are just one more page in the judgments in the grand era of these times prophetic. You understand, folks, that there are many signs in the earth and in heavens, and we're seeing these now. Mount Tambora goes again. It will be one of the largest events this world has ever seen. That's for certain. Equivalent to the eruption of Yellowstone, and that's according to MIT. All right, we're going to shift gears yet again, and I want to thank all the members of the Watcher Society who have helped out and done the things I've asked people to do to help their friends, help their neighbors, help their beloveds, help those that are in need, those that can't afford heat, those that can't afford food even to eat, that you would step up to the plate when they ask for assistance on the Watchers. These are our friends. Watcher Society is a 20-year organization that has survived the test of time. We're one of the oldest societies that do what we do, study the end of days. And our brothers and sisters there are in pretty good shape overall, but there are some who are still in very much need. And if there are people that are God's true warriors, those that would step up to the plate, those that would help their fellow brethren and sisters out when they need a hand, please do so, because the need is still great on the Watchers, and we definitely will help anyone that we can in our radio ministry on KW Radio that needs help. We do have such members on the Watchers, and we expect you to step up and try to help. Shine the light. Shine the light of your heart. It will affect others, and you will see things happen that have not happened in your life before because of it. All right, shifting gears again. After years of fighting with FOIA request, CIA has finally uploaded over 12 million documents to its website. While many of these documents have been declassified for some time, the pages were intentionally hard to access and only available on a few computers sitting at the National Archives, but now anyone can search the documents from anywhere. I'm going to tell you what some of these things contain, and I'm telling you it's more and more looking like disclosure will be under President Donald Trump. I've been working on looking into this for a very long time. It's one of the things I wanted to make sure that got done before the President Obama left office was to be able to get to you this dire information. Now, the CIA's Joseph Lambert has told Jason Leopold from BuzzFeed a certain set of facts. He is going to be retiring after 32 years with the agency. These facts contain everything from the CIA's strange mind control experiments that were just published in these papers to reports on communist activity around the world. Many of the pages have been liberated by the likes of researcher Michael Best and Leopold himself and uploaded to places like archive.org, but they're now all there at the CIA's main website for your own searching pleasure. Over 12 million of them. We'll have news for you about the disclosure issue. The CIA admits that the so-called alien spaceships, this is the CIA, want you to listen to what they're saying here. The CIA has said that these so-called alien spaceships everyone sees are not only real, but they have no real control over their own airspace as they consistently survey us. This will definitely come out in these documents when enough folks start reading all of them. And I am certain we will revisit this topic shortly in the future. It's already being mentioned on sites like Godlike Productions. So I want you to know that they're linking more and more. They want people to know that they have no control over their own airspace. That must be why they constantly cover our space station's camera with their own hands at times, just so that you can't know the truth. You're not ready for it. You're not ready for the truth yet because you may not be able to handle the fact that there's so many demons flying around in our atmosphere that you just might even wake up. Alright, we're going to shift gears yet again. Now, I don't know about you, but there's a lot of my friends who work in the medical field, and there's a lot of watchers and others that need medical care. I myself don't even have a good doctor right at this moment. My doctor just took a nosedive. He told me point blank, Mr. Hoffman, you are a very good patient, and I love you being here. I wish I could continue seeing you, but I'm going to have to discharge you. And I said, Doctor, why? And he said, well, I cannot continue to take Obamacare. It's about to change, and my insurance providers are all up in the air. They don't know what to do. We're not even processing payments correctly. We don't know where our money is coming from. And therefore, you're just going to have to find another healthcare provider. You see, all that is about to change. The promise of Obamacare failed everyone. Now, I don't particularly blame Obama because there were a lot of hands in it, but Obama made a lot of promises that he couldn't keep. And those promises hurt a lot of people. Veterans still today living on the sidewalk, cardboard boxes, because they can't even get the slightest decent health care. They can't get their health together to even look for a job. And this national travesty has to stop. Well, under Donald Trump, it's going to stop, according to him. He issued a statement yesterday that we are going to have insurance for everyone. That's right, everyone. Now, Trump heralds the GOP's Obamacare alternative, and Rand Paul has, believe it or not, crafted a great deal of this. He has revealed that it will focus on low-cost policies and insurance providers with extreme competition. Well, you know, putting capitalism back into this definitely sucks the socialism back out, and we're hoping for the best for this policy. President-elect Donald Trump revealed the new health care plan will cover everyone. Trump said that repealing Obamacare will be the first thing he does as President of the United States. Now, Trump didn't give specific details about the new bill, but he said he plans to go after these pharmaceutical companies and their insanely high cost of medicine, stating that the cure for hepatitis should not be these thousands of dollars that they are. Treatable diseases should be easily cured. It's amazing how we came together in the 60s, wiped out polio, with all these newfangled vaccines that have now morphed into a hideous poisoning of Americans. We can get rid of polio, but we can't get rid of hepatitis. We can get rid of this, but we can't get rid of that. Those things are about to change. He said again, a second time, this time looking directly into the cameras, we are going to have insurance for everyone. There is a philosophy in some circles that if you can't pay for it, you can't get it. Well, that's the truth. Small businesses that have only a few workers, my son works for one, he had Obamacare because he was deathly scared. People kept telling him these penalties, they're going to eat your income tax up, son. You're not going to be able to provide for your family the way you used to because Obama's penalties are going to wipe you out. You don't have any health care. And the law says you have to have it. Therefore, you've got to pay for it, even if it takes your entire paycheck. Then you can't take home any bacon to mama. He wasn't very happy with that. But Donald Trump says there is going to be insurance for everybody. Says that the philosophy that if you can't pay for it, you don't get it, that's not going to happen with us, he says. Trump added the bill is down to its final strokes and is waiting for his nominee for Secretary of Health and Human Services, Republican Tom Price, to be confirmed so that he can lay this out to the American people in such a way that they will understand the difference between socialist health care and health care based upon true capitalism. Companies that would fight for your business, give you the lowest prices for their services, and reduce the cost of these medicines, or these pharmaceutical companies will wind up in the toilet. So says Donald Trump. He's going after these companies. He's going after all these high-priced companies where you have to spend half your paycheck on medicine every month just to stay alive. That's going to stop. So says Donald Trump. He says Congress is expected to address this issue in the surrounding upcoming weeks. Looks like a massive competition is going back into the insurance game for lower prices. And everyone, if you can't afford it, Donald Trump said it's going to be free. That's right. If you can't afford it, it's going to be free. That's a measure that Obamacare could not provide. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being here tonight. I have been a little under the weather lately and have been for several weeks. It's going up and down, and I'm hopefully going to be better and get better at this soon, or else everyone will tune me out. But in the days ahead, I want you to be patient with me and understand that I do this for free. I don't make a dime off this. Yes, I've told people that I do get my sponsors when they come, but they've been few and far apart. And right now, I don't have anyone donating to keep the Watchers Prophecy News alive. It's the same story with almost every human on our society. We are all struggling to make it, and it seems like there's not enough to go around for even us, let alone someone else, even someone that you care about and love. We have to remind ourselves in humble fashion that these times are dire. And in order for any of us to survive, because when the first of us start falling out, you'll see it'll be like dominoes. There'll be many fall. We're not going to let that happen with us. We're not going to let that happen. We are going to support our neighbors to the best of our ability and know in our lifetime that in our last days, in our day of judgment, in our day that we must bow before Christ, that we can say, we've fought the good fight. We've done the best we can do. We've made mistakes. We've asked forgiveness. But, Father, we have done your commandments. Now, I want everyone to be able to say those things. Wish you all a good night tonight, wherever you may be. Come back with us every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Watchers Prophecy News. Only on KW Radio, where you can find America's greatest messages and me when you click that knob. Thank you very much. This is Mars, and I'm out of here tonight.